Uh, it continues.
Welcome to the Grift, brought to you by Malort, the complicated flavor of 2025.
Yep, no.
It's the taste of 2025. Let's
It
do
is
this.
the taste of 2025. Let's do it.
The easier it is to sell souls.
There is a new price on freedom, so buy into it while supplies last. Changes need to be made. No more curbside baggage. 7 p.m. curfew. Racial profiling will continue with less bitching. We've unified over who to kill, so until I find more relevant scripture to quote, remember, our God is bigger, stronger, smarter, and much wealthier. So wave those flags with pride, especially the white part.
We're selling addictive 24-hour candlelight vigils in TVs. Freedom will be defended at the cost of civil liberties. The viewers are glued to television screens, stuck, cause lots of things seem too sick. I use opportunities to pluck heartstrings for theme music. I show you which culture to pump your fit.
Fuck it. I guess we'll start with the news.
Oh, man. Whew. Where to begin? Should we start with the crash?
That's the most important thing. That's.
Was it 60 dead so far?
I think I heard 67.
Jesus Christ.
Everybody who was on either aircraft was killed. So the entire flight crew, every passenger, every military service member, everybody.
Yep,
No
67.
survivors. Yeah, they have changed it from a search and rescue to a recovery.
All right. So we got 67 dead. Now, there's a possible explanation out that is kind of technical and complicated, which is that it seems that the aircraft may have just needed to change runways at the last second. Like they decided like right before that they wanted to change runways or that something had to happen to change the runway.
I have heard that due to budget constraints, Reagan Airport is overcrowded. Too many planes are coming and going pretty much every day, that they have repeatedly asked for more resources to address this problem, and that Ted Cruz personally made sure they didn't get them.
Thanks, Ted.
You'd think a guy who runs away by air every time there's a problem in his own state would want reliable air traffic control, and
Right?
but no, not Ted.
Not Ted.
Ted got what he wanted. Fuck everyone else.
But, you know, if he were murdered on the floor of the Senate while it was in session, there would not be 99 people who didn't see a goddamn thing.
And that was a Republican who said that.
Mm-hmm. That was old Lindsey. Lindsey Graham said
Miss
that.
Lindsay.
Miss Lindsey.
Sweet Miss Lindsay.
What was it? Lady G? Was that the...
Yes, I believe
Lady
so.
G.
Lady G.
Yeah. For those who might have missed that, there was a big, like... it was never fully confirmed because no evidence was brought to the fore, but the male escorts of DC started dropping like names and hints a few years back, and Lindsey Graham was apparently very, very popular.
I mean,
and I have heard from staffers. I've met a couple of congressional staffers and Senate staffers in my life, and I know some people who work in politics who have spoken with other young staffers, and Lindsey Graham is apparently very aggressive with the twinks.
well, Washington, D.C. knows that Lindsey Graham is gay the same way St. Pete knows Charlie Crist is.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that little tidbit,
Charlie's probably...
We've all heard some shit. I've heard
Yeah.
specific stories from specific people. I will never name any names.
like-
I've heard stories from people.
It's like Asheville and old Bob Ingalls. You know? For those Asheville people out there, which I'm sure nobody from Asheville is probably listening yet.
I don't know. We're up to 40 subscribers, and as far as I'm aware, only 15 of them are people we know.
And we found a guy, and you got the guy you knew 20 some odd years ago.
Yeah,
was in Kansas,
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
He's in Nebraska.
Nebraska, and reached out because our show is actually like helping his mental health. That's fucking great.
I never thought that I would help anyone's mental
No.
health, let alone anybody I knew personally.
We helped one person that we barely know. I don't know at all.
You don't know at all. He and I haven't really talked in 20 years.
Yeah.
And good dude. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life.
Nice.
Like quick. The only person I know for sure had a quicker wit than him is his younger brother.
Nice.
They were a fucking talented little family.
But, apparently, like 2025, end of 2024 was rough on his mental health, and our show is helping bring him back from the grave. I love it. So I wouldn't have ever expected that. All we're doing here is
But that is
drinking.
why we started this.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, we went into this with the intention of being a positive force.
right. And getting our own bullshit processed as we deal with this nonsense.
Yeah, because as unhealthy as it might seem from the outside, sitting here drinking and screaming into a microphone for 2 hours a week is great for my mental health. It makes me a happier, healthier person. I deal with things much better than I would otherwise.
This is one of those ways where I can actually process having a former alcohol problem.
Okay.
And right, like, and not actually having an alcohol problem anymore, but still enjoying social time, drinking, and drinking in the way I used to, which was while angry.
Like we said last week, just don't drink alone.
Don't drink alone. No.
If you drink alone, it'll become a problem. I don't care who you are. I don't even care if you become an alcoholic. Like, your drinking will be a problem because you're doing it alone, even if it's in moderation.
Yeah, functional alcoholism isn't always terrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, don't
let them pressure you.
It's multifaceted. It's very complex.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as movies, TV, or AA make it seem to be.
So,
I got a little off track there. But.
yeah, very off track, but that's us. But we know the real cause of this disaster.
I mean, the president, the vice president, and the secretary of defense all named it what the exact direct cause of the crash last night was.
Diversity.
Diversity.
Now, not a single member of the crew involved, neither the pilots of either aircraft were anything but straight white men.
Right. Although some of the non-piloting flight crew on the commercial airliner were Jewish and or black. But
apparently it's because the FAA is staffed with retards, according to Trump.
According to Trump, yes, that they were specifically told to hire people who were mentally defective to be air traffic controllers. That's our president.
Yeah. Most of our air traffic controllers were hired they haven't retired since Reagan rehired, did the big hiring.
None of this could possibly be at all impacted by the fact that the head of the FAA quit because Elon yelled at him.
Yeah.
Or that the entire Aviation Safety Commission was dissolved by the president a week ago.
Or the fact that we've been underfunding it for years. And again, the Ted Cruz story.
Yeah,
right?
we underfund the FAA. The FAA is a very important federal agency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, air traffic is one of those things you really want to make sure that you get right. Yep. You don't want to fuck that up because any tiny mistake results in mass deaths.
Right. And we've been in the middle of about a 10, 11-year crisis with the FAA in general, with air traffic control. Because for those who aren't aware, there was a big strike under Reagan's first term, and he fired all of the air traffic controllers.
And we have been having problems ever since.
Yeah, and hired a bunch of new ones, all young guys for the most part, brand new. So, and now in public service, you get max retirement at 30 years, right? That's the big payoff. 20, great, but if you can do 30,
And if you start working in a job at 20, 25, 30 years, you're still just barely halfway to death, probably.
Yeah.
Like you have the rest of your life. You could do a lot in your 50s and 60s before it gets too hard to do things when you hit your 70s and your 80s.
Right. And air traffic control is not a physically demanding job, so it doesn't really break their bodies all that much. Mentally, yeah. And
it can be very taxing just in terms of the stress.
Yeah.
I've seen Pushing Tin.
Right.
Which, if you haven't watched the movie Pushing Tin, fucking great film. Billy Bob Thornton, John Cusack. I can't remember who any of the actresses in the film were. Good movie, though. I haven't seen it in like 20 years, but good movie.
Yeah. But long and short is that they all when everybody's hired at the same time, they all start retiring around the same time.
It's kind of like every boomer collecting Social Security at once.
Yeah. And so there's been a bit of a hiring crisis over there, and it's underfunded and understaffed, and it takes years to train people up and get them, like, you know, competent.
And it's the sort of problem that does not fix itself on its own. You have to actively try to fix the problem.
Yeah.
You have to hire new, young, talented people. You have to create a work environment that allows them to do the job well without becoming, like, totally destroyed by it.
Mm-hmm. So, but
we're not doing that. We haven't been.
Diversity apparently is the big problem. Diversity. A bunch of straight white guys that were mostly hired 43 years ago. They are the problem.
I mean, I'm never going to say that white people aren't the problem.
Right.
Oh, as we hear a plane going overhead right now.
Right here. Okay.
Speaking, just as an aside, speaking of air flight, the fact that Boeing and Elon Musk are now teaming up to rebuild Air Force One as quickly and cheaply as possible.
Boeing plus Elon.
I cannot imagine what could possibly go wrong. There are a few times where I'm like excited that I know something's going to go wrong.
Right.
Something's going to go wrong.
And a rush job.
Oh,
do it. Yes.
Yes, I think you should make sure you get this plane on the runway and in the air as quickly as possible.
Next week would be great.
Yeah. Could you have it done by Friday?
So we got a hostage release in Gaza. There were 8 released, so that's good. And some Palestinian prisoners are set to be freed.
And just in case anyone was wondering, Donald Trump has said that Gaza should be completely emptied out and rebuilt.
Yeah.
Probably solely for the use by rich Israelis and billionaires.
Yeah, he loves how beachfront it is and how the weather's perfect all the time.
It is a genuinely beautiful part of the world, and it is a fucking travesty that it has been destroyed in the way that it has over the last 60, 70 years.
100%.
It's one of the greatest crimes that humanity has committed since the Holocaust.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even care what side of the issue you're on. It's a fucking tragedy.
Mm-hmm. You have 2.2 million people living in an area the size of New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's
and now when we think about that, we're like, well, I mean, that's got plenty of space, except that is their entire country, and they're basically under an embargo. So
they don't even have access to their own, like, waterfront.
Right.
Like, they can't send ships in and out of their own ports without permission. They're suffering a blockade.
Yeah, fishermen can't even go out to fish far enough to catch, like, large enough fish to feed people because they get blown out of the water.
I seem to remember going out and fishing being a big part of pretty much every single religion that developed in the area over the last 4,000 years.
Yep. Yeah, it has. I mean, all of it.
There's not a lot of great farmland, but there's some amazing fishing opportunities, and it's a great way to feed yourself in that region if you're allowed to.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's get into some of this fucking nonsense with the confirmation hearings.
Yeah, they were a fucking shit show. I can't remember. Hegseth was confirmed since last week.
Yes. We
now have an alcoholic, spousal abusing, most likely rapist, white nationalist as the Secretary of Defense. So he is in charge of the largest bureaucracy and military the world has ever seen.
What's amazing is that one senator who convinced Hegseth's former sister-in-law to sign the statement about how terrible he was.
Tom Tillis.
Tillis, yeah. So Tillis convinces her to sign this statement.
And he looked like up until the last second he was going to vote against confirmation, and that would have prevented the confirmation.
Yep.
This is probably the first time in his political career that I'm going to give him credit for anything, but Mitch McConnell voted against confirmation.
Right.
So did Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski.
Yep. The three of them.
I wasn't surprised by Collins and Murkowski.
Colin slightly surprised me. I'm not gonna lie. I thought she can sometimes be okay on this
she
shit.
waffles, but I think even she does have genuine limits.
Yeah,
And
Murkowski doesn't surprise me.
she's willing to believe a lie if it's convenient, like
Right.
when she confirmed Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
But when you're not even trying to lie about your
Yeah.
position and you're just being openly fucking psychotic, that is it seems like that's a hard limit even for her.
Yeah, you're probably right there. But with fucking, yeah, I mean, Tillis, massive piece of shit. Dude convinces Hegseth's former sister-in-law to swear a statement about how terrible Hegseth is, knowing that, telling her that it'll get the votes to block his confirmation, and then he's the guy
Who votes? Well, as far
Confirmed
as
the last
to
second.
my knowledge, there has never been a Secretary of Defense who was confirmed on a tiebreaker from the Vice President.
Yeah.
It's usually the sort of thing where you're seeing like a 90 to 100%
Right.
approval rating.
I also, the audacity of Hegseth even bringing up DEI hires, like our last SecDef, happened to be a black guy, but also a 4-star general who had one of the most accomplished careers in the U.S. Army, right?
Yeah.
And his replacement is a mediocre white guy who spent 20 years in the Guard.
A man who could not even qualify to be a weekday or primetime host on Fox News.
Right.
He was only allowed to host the weekend show, and he still would show up drunk for it every single day.
Yeah. He was never qualified for any command while he was in the military.
Was it 04, I think?
Yeah.
He maxed out at?
Yeah. And so he made it to major. But he was never even given a command role as a major. Like, he never ran anything.
He has attempted to run some small organizations, and he did in fact run them straight into the ground.
Yes. Nothing he's touched has succeeded. He hasn't had any leadership or organizational experience beyond small units. Yeah.
Either one of us would be more qualified to be Secretary of Defense, and neither one of us should ever be Secretary of Defense.
No, absolutely fucking not. But I mean,
I'm going to drink more during this episode than the Secretary of Defense should drink during their tenure.
yes. And Hegseth is going to drink more this morning than either one of us combined.
We'll drink over the next 3 months.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. And, he's going to roofie some women while he's in office, I'm sure. Based on his pattern and his history to date, anyways.
He is a sexual predator.
Okay. Allegedly. Many times allegedly, with details and witnesses and corroboration, allegedly. And then we've got this week's ridiculous hearings. We got RFK Jr., blinking to the brain, hoping that the brainworm would start talking, I think is what happened.
I think he would have been better off if the brainworm had done the fucking talking for him, because I was uncomfortable watching it at times, and I fucking hate him. And I was like, ooh, that's...
He couldn't answer questions well at all. Simple yes, no's. He just decided he wanted to try to... And look, if you've got that fucking speech impediment bullshit that he's got, don't try to tap dance around questions, because I don't understand why I should be...
especially...
shut the fuck up.
Especially if you were asked a yes or no question.
Yeah.
Did you say this, yes or no? No. Okay, well, I have a transcript that shows you did. I'm going to enter into the record.
I don't believe I...
Fucking, why eat another goddamn bear carcass?
Did he claim that the polio vaccine... Oh, Lyme disease. Lyme disease was a bioweapon.
That was one of my favorite... I can't remember which who was questioning him at the time, which senator it was. But he was asked, did you say that you believed that Lyme disease was a militarily engineered bioweapon? And his response was, I probably said that. Yes.
Yeah.
He couldn't be sure if he said it. I mean, he was trying to deny quotes from his own memoir.
Right.
He tried to, despite having transcripts of him doing it, he tried to deny comparing the CDC to the Nazi Party.
Yeah.
and the vaccine programs as the Holocaust.
Yep.
He's less qualified for the position he's been nominated for than Hegseth is for Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, at least Hegseth served in the military for 20 years. So I mean, at least there's that, right?
The only thing
he knows a branch of the military's organization, and he
the only two things that RFK Jr. has successfully done is somehow finished law school and misunderstood scientific papers when he tried to read them.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things. Those are all heroin. He did heroin for 14 years. Now, I am not going to use someone's drug use against them in general. But when you want to be someone who is essentially in charge of all of the nation's healthcare and all of our health responses to any sort of crisis that might show up, any sort of, I don't know, pandemic that might pop up, and your greatest medical contribution is knowing how to find a vein, I don't have a lot of confidence in you.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing: when you consider vaccines to be so goddamn dangerous, but you did IV heroin for 14 straight years, you have fucking problems. That's so. RFK's hearing was an absolute shit show.
It was an impressive disaster.
Yeah, which makes him weirdly enough probably the least likely to get confirmed now. It is quite possible.
I could still see it happening.
I could.
I think if it does, it's going to be another one of those instances where Vance has to be the fucking tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think he has lost every possible Democrat because Fetterman wanted to lean that direction. Fuck you, Fetterman. I hate you.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about you later.
I hope Philly goes full Philly on your ass.
Yeah. But even Fetterman, who was trying to, after that performance, had to say, I don't even think he's getting out of committee, right?
He shouldn't.
He
shouldn't. He's entirely shockingly unqualified.
Yep. Speaking of which, we got Gabbard today.
She might be less qualified for the position she's been nominated for than RFK is for his. This is a Matryoshka doll of bullshit nominations.
Yes.
None of these people belong in government.
No.
Let alone at the highest levels in the presidential cabinet.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Known Russian asset.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Alleged as far as the legal system goes, known as far as our intelligence agencies go.
Yeah.
Known Russian asset.
Known cult member.
She
is the member of a weird religious cult that basically just hates gay people.
Yep. Very non-allegedly, but quite clearly proven to have taken money from Russia Today and the Russian government.
It was what, $50,000 per news story that she made a video for?
Yeah.
On RT America, the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. And there are financial ties between her and Assad.
Known war criminal.
Yeah.
Bashar al-Assad.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible human being. And could the left not support him just because he is opposed to American foreign policy? Can we stop that shit, please? Yeah. I think we might have to do an entire episode on America Bad Brain Rot before too long because it's getting out of fucking control.
Absolutely. It really, look, America bad, sure. But other places also can be. We need to talk
about that. Maybe that'll be next week.
So Tulsi Gabbard is an absolute shit show. Apparently in her hearing, a lot of people wanted to ask her if Snowden was a traitor. And they're pushing that one real hard. And she refuses to answer or say that she thinks he's a traitor, which, the Snowden story, I get a little mixed.
It's tough.
What Snowden released to us was valuable to know.
I'm glad that we know what he released, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't like him.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. I think that
of all the places to run to, Russia is an interesting choice.
I think that if he was going to do it, he should have just taken his fucking lumps and accepted the consequences of doing it on principle.
Yeah.
Chelsea Manning did.
Right.
She went to fucking prison for her fucking beliefs in whistleblowing.
Yep.
And getting information out to the American public, and he ran away to fucking Vladimir Putin's fucking guest room.
Yep. And when Snowden started to become a libertarian and anti-imperialist darling on the internet and a big greenwalled kind of like voice out there, you noticed that he started doing a lot of water carrying for Putin over the years.
I mean, he had to earn his keep somehow.
Exactly. And so, your principles immediately degrade when you run off to an authoritarian state where they're propagandizing and view on civil liberties is worse than the country that you just exposed.
Yeah.
Right?
Everything that the United States is doing and has done, Russia is just as guilty of. Perhaps not at the same scale, simply because they don't have the ability to do it at the same scale as we do. But the intent is probably more genuinely malicious.
Right.
And it's definitely more purely for the benefit of one man.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
Asada Shakur has never been used by the Cuban government as a propaganda piece. I find that funny. Like, she's never gone out and done a bunch of like pro-Castro nonsense.
Honestly, aside from the fact that they would really like the embargo to completely end entirely forever, they're not particularly, they don't seem particularly prone to engage in like international propaganda at all.
No, yeah.
They keep to themselves. They're very cut off from the outside world by us.
Yeah, you would just think that having a dissident who quite possibly didn't kill the people that she was accused of killing, she may have, she may not have, but they also kind of probably deserved it if she did, right?
It happens. People can deserve to die.
Sometimes cops are doing things illegal to somebody because they happen to be a political dissident or somebody who doesn't agree with the system, and those cops are trying to kill you, and so you kill them back.
That's why, like,
and
even
if you're black in America, that usually means you're going to prison for life or getting the death penalty. So she ran.
That's why even if I believe, if I believed Mumia Abu Jamal were guilty of the murder of Danny Faulkner in Philadelphia, which I have doubts about because of how his trial went, I still don't know that would have been entirely immoral. Illegal, yes, but legality and morality are two different things sometimes.
Right. And there was this weird bit of trivia I remember reading a few years back, but most states used to have the concept like castle doctrine and applying to like self-defense laws used to apply to law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of states had required, in order for you to be charged with like an assault or a murder of a police officer, it's all the way up until like the 30s. They had to convict you on the original crime that the cop was trying to arrest you for first. Otherwise, what they were trying to do was kidnapping.
That seems fair.
Right.
That seems perfectly reasonable.
If they can't get you on the original charge, then the cop was just trying to kidnap you.
I am very firmly of the belief that if we
should have died.
I'm very firmly of the belief that if we are going to give a class of citizens the right to potentially execute people on the street, they should be held to a higher standard than the rest of us at all times.
Yes, 100%.
I don't understand how anyone could think otherwise.
Well, I mean, I have my thoughts, but most of it just kind of boils down to one, humans are dumb and Americans are extra especially like brutal about some of this stuff, and
we are
prone to bootlicking despite and
we're punitive for the sake of being punitive.
Yeah. We have this like mythos about how free and anti-authoritarian we are, like how anti-government we are, but it's the same people who worship the state and law and order and the police and the military who say that shit.
Yeah.
I respect fascinating.
I respect earned authority.
Sure.
But if you haven't earned it, I'm not just giving it to you.
Right. And like, I respect systems that keep things going because that's kind of an earned authority, right? Like, yeah, I don't love them. Like, they're all imperfect.
I don't like our policing system. I don't like our criminal justice system, but I understand the idea that you need a system to prosecute and do something about criminal behavior. You don't want people just being able to go around and rape and murder with impunity.
Absolutely not.
Everyone can't be the president.
Speaking of the president, oh God, executive orders round 2.
They've been some bad ones this week. Let's
Oh, my
start.
God.
The first I think we have to start with is the attempt to completely cut off all funding for federal loan and grant programs.
Yes, that absolutely backfired and blew up in their faces, and they have immediately started to scale back on it.
Like, it's so obviously and unambiguously illegal,
Right.
that I'm actually shocked that even this administration tried.
I'm mostly shocked that they were so haphazard about it. And they have attempted to, how would you say it? Pretend that's not what we meant. We didn't, they're walking it back, and they're saying that they didn't intend it to do the things that it did, and that the stories of X, Y, or Z happening that, caused, people to be outraged about it weren't what they didn't do that. But you can't write a vague, broad executive order and threaten the jobs or even imprisonment of anyone who doesn't listen or follow your orders, right? And expect it not to have broad sweeping and bad conclusions. Things you didn't intend for it to do. Because when you say, we're cutting all of this funding, and if you dare even question us, we're going to fire you or throw you in jail.
All 50 Medicare portals in the country shut down.
Yeah.
How? Like, the idea that you're just going to cut off SNAP and all student loans and all right. So one of the things that I saw in the wake of this a lot was people who were gloating about people who were Trump voters being fucked by this order. And I emotionally understand that impulse. I get that. I understand saying, yeah, fuck you. You voted for this. You're getting it. I mean, by the same token, I do know that people who didn't vote for it are impacted probably more.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I feel I don't want these things to happen.
Yeah,
I just like that there's a big
I would rather no one suffer.
You're right.
And especially when you're like, the way I saw some people, and this was particularly true on TikTok, and they're like, fuck you, your kids are going to go hungry. Their kids didn't vote for this.
Right. Yeah.
Their kids didn't want this.
You're not wrong.
And also, like, there was a lot of classism going on.
I'm sure.
I saw a lot of people who were just poor white people who did not vote for Trump, who were not Trump supporters.
Right.
Being told that they were getting what they deserved because the assumption was because they were poor and white, they must necessarily have been a Trump voter. When the overwhelming majority of people who supported Trump are upper middle class, Gen X, non-college educated motherfuckers who benefited from a system that allowed them to do well without having any fucking qualifications 40 years ago.
You're not wrong, but I will say that that majority problem is because they concentrate in the high populated swing states.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas all of the deeply Republican states, like, their majority voters are poor white trash. Let's not lie about it. Let's just, sorry, it is what it is. In the deep locked in red states, and like
Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee,
West Virginia,
Florida.
Poor white people who are reliant on government services are the largest plurality of the GOP voter base.
Yeah. They are the people who receive the most SNAP benefits, who receive the most rental assistance, who receive the most Medicaid. They are the ones who benefit the most from all of these systems.
Yep. And they did vote for this. You did. And like, I don't want you to suffer. I didn't want you to suffer to begin with. I voted for the other guy.
You know what I need these people to learn to say? I need them to learn to say, I didn't think this is what I was voting for.
Sure.
I don't know what they thought they were voting for, but I'm sure they did not think that this was what they were voting for.
Yeah.
And they need to be able to say,
I'd like to give them more credit for that, but I mean, we've been telling them.
Yeah, but also nobody listens. And we also run into a problem where when I talk online, when I go on TikTok and I post a video,
right,
and I say some shit, for the most part, the only people seeing what I'm saying are people who already agree with me.
I mean, that's fair. I go to a lot of conservative spaces to pick fights, though.
Yeah, you do.
I do.
I will say, I'm okay with some people suffering. Like, if you're Brad Cooper.
Oh, Brad.
If you're Brad Cooper, I am fucking giddy about any suffering you experience.
It's the ones that are
I enjoy
happy
your
about
pain
the other
and
people
misery.
suffering. Like, fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck you to death with a tire iron. I don't care.
I saw some woman who was talking about how happy she was that families were being separated by ICE.
That shit. Fuck them.
That's inhuman. That's monstrous. That's so ghoulish. I don't even fully understand how you get to that point where you can say that. Like, if you think it, that's one thing. Like, if you think those thoughts in your head, that's one thing. Like, it's fucked to think it. But to actually say it out loud and expect to just be accepted for it is fucking mind-blowing. Like, I can't imagine that kind of fucking I don't even know what the word is.
Yeah. So the 17 inspectors general fired illegally. We had that.
And here's something to remember about pretty much essentially everything that Trump has done since he took office on the 20th and started signing executive orders. Nearly all of this shit is illegal. Nearly all of this shit is shit that he does not have the authority to do. And it is all going to be litigated in court.
Yeah.
A huge chunk of it will not actually come to pass. That does not excuse the fact that he is trying to do it. The fact that he is trying to do it should be as opposed in as strongly a means as possible. But by the same token, you can't act like every dumb fuck thing he does is the end of the world.
No, yeah.
You have to find that balance between opposing what he's doing and losing your goddamn mind. Because if you lose your goddamn mind, you're not going to help yourself or anyone else.
Yeah. I am begging the left to stop thinking that we are already at the last stages of the Third Reich.
One of the things that I have come to realize that is one of the biggest problems we have on the left, and by left I mean anybody from like dead center to full on tanky dipshit,
right?
Is the absolute lack of imagination that things can get worse.
Yeah.
Because
they think that they're getting to their worst already.
If you listen to some of the things these people say, they sound like they did not things could get any worse than they were under Biden.
Right.
And that's fucking unhinged. That's deranged thinking.
But what's weird
you are
about it,
fully untethered from reality if that's what you think.
Yeah, what's weird about it is that it's like this bizarre coin flip where, look, again, members of marginalized communities, I get being concerned. You've got every right to be. That sort of thing.
You always will, probably.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing.
Yeah.
You probably always will have completely every right to feel concerned.
But I really, so we are not at the 1939, 1940 stage of the Weimar Republic, right? Where they've got complete power and nobody's doing anything to stop them and they're criminalizing everything they don't like.
Yeah, it's important to remember.
But that's what these assholes, on the left are
It is
talking
very
about.
important to remember that if you take into consideration everyone who voted for Harris and everyone who didn't vote for whatever reason, whether it was because they decided not to or voter suppression made it impossible for them to, Trump got the support of maybe 1/3 of the voting population.
Yeah, and he got less votes than last time.
He got like millions fewer votes than 2020.
Right. And there's this absolute fear of some on the left in the gay and trans community that, they're already going to start getting rounded up into camps and shit like that, and that the government is going to come after them tomorrow. And I need you guys to calm down. Because the fight of the last 30 years has been about their visibility, and they're doing the oppressor's work for them right now. They're hiding when they don't need to.
A theoretical possibility that could happen someday.
Right.
We are not there yet. And honestly, the best thing you can do, and I know this is scary, and I know this is hard, the best thing you can do is be as open and as loud and as proud as you fucking can be.
Exactly.
Live your entire life like you're throwing a fucking brick at Stonewall every goddamn day.
The name of the parade and the festival and the holiday every year, the month, is pride.
We got Winter Pride coming up in like less than a month, and I intend to be out there as fucking, and I'm not even queer.
Right. I get
Like, I can't say that I'm like normal straight person,
right,
but I'm not a member of the LGBTQ community.
Right.
Either.
But it's called pride. And now, again, okay, sure, I'm not anybody to lecture a community on how they should react to things, but I am a reader of history, and I got to say that there are generations of gays in the LGBTQ community that would look at what you're saying and doing right now and the way that you're all hiding and be rolling over in their graves ashamed of you.
The only thing that I know for sure when it comes to how you should react is that giving up and taking it is never the answer.
Never.
You're just doing the work of the oppressor for them at that point. And these people are oppressors.
Yeah.
They want to oppress you. They want to oppress you for political reasons. They want to oppress you for economic reasons. They want to oppress you for religious reasons, which are the stupidest reasons.
Absolutely.
Especially since there's like these people call themselves Christian, and there's really no basis in Christian literature, like the actual Bible, for that oppression.
None whatsoever. I mean, there's
it's vague at best,
3 lines,
and you know, you look at Leviticus, where all of our real anti-gay rhetoric comes from, and man, they go way harder on don't eat shellfish and don't wear mixed fiber clothing, than they do like being gay.
Yeah, they do, and a bunch of other things that no Christian would ever not do these days.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. All right. Speaking of oppression, executive order about the schools.
This might be the most egregious executive order that we've seen released yet,
except for the 14th Amendment one.
Well, the 14th Amendment one is so stupid.
Yeah, but it's
just like
it's egregious,
but it's also it's like I don't believe the Constitution is constitutional stupid.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean our Supreme Court won't go along with it eventually, but it is.
See, that's the if they go through with that, it's horrendous. It's like Dred Scott Lochner era nonsense.
If they go through with that, we only have one solution that I won't say because it's a terms of service violation.
Yeah, you know what we're talking about. Free Luigi. But yeah, the schools won.
The idea that it is indoctrination that will remove your funding and get your certification removed if you're a teacher, and potentially send you to prison if you acknowledge that both anything along the lines of queer people existing, which they do. Like,
right?
You might not like that, but gay people, trans people, non-monogamous people, non-binary people, they exist. Like, you can be upset about that all you want. You can be annoyed by that all you want. You can be disgusted by that all you want, although I think it's a little pathological if you are. But they do exist. And the idea that a school could lose its funding entirely because a teacher agrees to call someone who was born with a vagina he is deranged. The idea that you could look at the breadth of U.S. history and say, racism played no part in this whatsoever, is deranged. And it needs to be opposed as strongly as possible by whatever means possible, whatever you think I mean by that.
Yeah, the nonsense in this one is staggering. One, it's like 2,400 word behemoth. It's like the longest executive order he's signed so far.
ChatGPT did a lot of heavy lifting on this one. It had to write a lot of bullshit.
But it even seeks to prevent schools across the country from teaching that subconscious bias exists in the world.
And we know this.
Like,
you can take an implicit bias test online, and you will be very dismayed by your own results, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it's important to know this about yourself.
Here's the thing. 90 to 97% of your actions on a daily basis, every day, are driven by your subconscious mind. You are not actually in control of your decisions 95%.
Not on a conscious level.
Not on a conscious level.
I mean, it's still your brain.
Yeah.
It's still your mind.
Yeah, but none of that matters. There's
it's not you thinking it through.
Yeah, there's a machine back here
that's
operating It's an algorithm operating off of patterns that it is recognized from your life, from your experiences, from the world that you were forced into.
Mhm.
You were born into a world in which you had no control, and circumstances under which you had no control, and raised under circumstances under which you had no control.
In an environment under which you had no control.
Yep. And all of that gets created into a series of patterns. And then you form these conclusions about how life works. And that's where your brain starts acting. The conscious stuff is just surface level, and you have to actively work to change your subconscious wiring. It's not something that just is happening. So even preventing people from teaching that it exists is nonsense, because it's the antithesis of known science. We know it exists. We know for a fact that it is real. This is not a question. It is a fact.
And I know people get weird about this. You are not at fault for the implicit biases that your culture has given you.
No.
That is not a thing that you thought your way into. That is not a thing you decided to do or feel. That is the thing that was implanted in you. If there is indoctrination, that's it.
Yep. You're at fault for how you react to those things, particularly once you know that that's a thing.
Yeah. If honestly, I would argue that consciousness, if it's anything, and we know it exists, consciousness at its core is your specific intentional attempt to work against those biases that are just, you didn't have any say in. You don't have any say in that. That's not something you decided on. That's not a moral failing on your part.
Yeah. As
that was done to you.
As dumb biological critters, right? We're just animals. It is a way of giving us a bunch of tools so we can really adapt and survive in our environment by changing behaviors and by overcoming our animalistic instincts and doing things that are counterintuitive to the subconscious programming. It's not it's a gift, right? You know?
Yeah, a
Sometimes
lot of
it's a
this was
curse.
stuff that is the
Consciousness
reason
can
that
be a
we were
curse.
able to survive to the point that we are still a species.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that it's adaptive now. It was adaptive in the past. It was important in the past. It kept us alive in the past. But we have created civilization in a way that we don't need that anymore. So you have to be aware of it and work against it.
Yep. Speaking of this federal funding freeze thing, man, I was talking to my sister.
Okay.
My sister's a director of a nonprofit for a community area foundation, and they have a big endowment, private charities and private funding keeps them operational. But what they do is they work to coordinate, and they're in a whole building full of other nonprofits.
Okay.
Right? And they coordinate between them and help them find funding, find grants, fill in the gaps, host fundraisers, etc. Right? And so the rest of that building, every other program in there has some form of federal funding.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So my sister's org is kind of fine. She's still got a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's in a whole building full of people who are just absolutely floored. They don't know what to do. They have no idea what the guidance is going to be looking like. They don't know whether or not they're actually cut off or not, because
And that's
they're
intentional.
they're getting memos that say, they're getting emails and memos that say they're cut off, and then there's getting somebody's coming around and saying maybe you're not, and then they're getting something that says you are, and then they reach out to the agency that they deal with, and government employees are throwing up their hands saying we have no fucking idea. That's the current state of our government. The most powerful bureaucracy in the world, the most powerful country in the world, has finally had a transition of a presidency for the first time since Abraham Lincoln that's pure chaos, and nobody knows anything about how everything's working.
And it's important to understand.
First time since Lincoln.
It's important to understand that the chaos present in the United States at the executive level impacts the entire globe. There is not a single country on the face of the earth that is not going to suffer negative impacts because of the fact that we cannot get our shit together here. That's one of the unfortunate responsibilities of being a superpower and the global hegemon. Everything you do impacts everyone else, intentionally or unintentionally. And that's why you're seeing, even though our press isn't particularly covering it all that much. That's why you're seeing massive anti-Trump protests around the globe, because every other country knows that we are fucked. Oh dear, what is this that you've just shown me?
Oh, God.
We've got a new executive order dropping during filming, apparently.
Yeah.
What's this one about? I'm sure that it's perfectly reasonable and not going to make things worse, especially when it's about anti-Semitism.
Yep. It is the White House. President Donald J. Trump takes forceful and unprecedented steps to combat anti-Semitism. I will give you that. These are unprecedented steps. Do you know why they're unprecedented steps?
Because they are stupid and are not going to work.
Yes, but what they are going to do.
Is this the formal executive order to kick anybody out on a college campus who protested against
Basically, yeah.
Israel?
Yep. So, going on offense to enforce law and order and to protect civil rights. I love the last part.
They're
And to
very good at
protect-
gaslighting and bullshit.
We are going to protect your civil rights by criminalizing your exercise of civil rights. So, immediately after the jihadist terrorist attacks against the people of Israel on October 7th, 2023, pro-Hamas aliens and left-wing radicals began a campaign of intimidation, vandalism, and violence on the campuses and streets of America, celebrating Hamas mass rape, kidnapping, and murder, and physically blocked Jewish Americans from attending college campuses, obstructed synagogues, and assaulted worshipers, and vandalized American monuments and statues. The Biden administration turned a blind eye to this coordinated assault on public order. It simply refused to protect the civil rights of Jewish Americans, especially students. And then he goes on to talk about how he destabilized the Middle East, and that's a good thing because...
Well, I mean, nothing's better than an entirely destabilized Middle East.
Yeah.
I mean...
And he doesn't think it's destabilizing the Middle East, but moving the embassy...
He doesn't think.
Yeah. Moving the embassy and cutting, deals with, the rest of the Middle Eastern countries that, basically included, hey, stop helping Palestinians provisions.
Right.
Made things worse. So he is going to aggressively aim the Justice Department at anybody who was protesting Israel, is basically the gist of this. And that any protests against American Jews in any way is going to be considered terrorism.
I have no problem with the Jewish people.
Me either.
I have family that's Jewish. I quite enjoy the Jewish people as a people.
Distant, but the same, yeah.
They've been through a lot. But fuck the state of Israel and particularly its current government.
Right.
Benjamin Netanyahu can squat under my cheeks and let me shit in his goddamn mouth and eat every single ounce of it.
I would happily
Mm-hmm.
take a grinder to Benjamin Netanyahu and mark him to a nub over the course of a month.
What are we grinding?
From his toes to his skull. That's how terrible of a man
With just
he
an
is.
angle grinder,
just
1 millimeter at a time, down to nothing.
Yeah, over a month. I'd happily do it.
I will say, few things disappoint me in life more than knowing that he was raised in Philadelphia. That's my greatest shame. That's the thing that might be the thing I'm most disappointed in entirely, ever.
Yeah.
Knowing that he was raised in Philadelphia, because I fucking love that city and there's no excuse for this.
And he's threatening to revoke all visas from any visiting immigrant or who was here on a student visa, who joined in any pro-jihad protests, as he puts it. And he says, "We will find you and we will deport you. I will also quickly cancel student visas of all Hamas sympathizers on college campuses. which have been infested with radicalism like never before.
Oh, man.
The First Amendment means fucking nothing to these people. Free speech doesn't mean a goddamn thing to these people. I'm sick and tired of it. If I hear another conservative talk to me about how fucking they care about free speech, I'm putting a bullet in that guy's head.
That reminds me. That reminds me, Elon Musk has been nominated for a Nobel Prize
by some dipshit fucking. Is the guy in the AFD?
I assume he's in the AFD because he's German.
That's
some kraut motherfucker. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm a quarter German. I can talk about those people as poorly as I want. I am of their blood.
My last name's Green. He used to have an umlaut.
He has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, I assume.
Yeah,
I assume that's what it is.
I think that's what they're trying to nominate him for.
Unwavering commitment to freedom of speech. Now, I don't know if you've been on Twitter in the last year.
There's not an unwavering
commitment to freedom of speech is less than unwavering.
By a lot.
Now, it's unwavering if you are literally a Nazi.
Yeah.
Then you can say whatever you want. But the fact that cis is a slur that can get you banned now.
Yep.
Deranged behavior. And cowardly.
Like, I love also watching over on Facebook how when Meta changed their terms of service, how the fucking asshole right-wingers started using slurs way more often. Like,
yeah,
way more often and loudly. They love retard. Like, just
they love that word.
Yeah, there's like
they love that word.
They're just like, you're all retards. You're a retard. And you're a retard. And you're a retard. And everybody's a retard, but me. Ha ha ha. You're retards. Wow, what is wrong with you?
What many things.
Yeah,
I mean, I had someone today tag me in a photo of a bundle of sticks because I called them a weird ghoul. Because on a post about how the former Secretary of Defense was a very decorated member of the military, our current Secretary of Defense was an alcoholic douchebag.
Both of these are objectively true.
They turned that into a weird rant about trans people.
Why? Every fucking time. And it's almost always trans people. It is every time any topic comes up. You talk about fucking SNAP benefits and they're talking about, you guys don't even know the difference between the genders.
I do. It is very telling.
I read books on gender.
It is very telling.
I do. You don't, asshole.
It is very telling that right-wing men are absolutely and to their core entirely obsessed with girl dick.
Yeah.
Like,
lady dick seems to be their thing.
Girl dick, like, all right, I have heard many a tale of the mouthfeel, and I get it. But it's weird that that's all you think about. And if I were trans, I would be very uncomfortable.
Right?
With you people constantly being obsessed with my girl dick. I would not be happy about that. I would not want that. But I know you think that I would want that. But I would not want that.
I am so angry that you make me want to jerk off to you is basically the gist of this. Like, it's pathetic.
It's fucking weird. And like the fact that
I don't care about my genitals as much as these people care about
my genitals. The fact that like we know for a fact based on search statistics that the websites release themselves that trans porn is more popular in deep red states than anywhere else in the fucking country.
Yeah, by a lot.
You people are obsessed. Trans people don't think about their own genitalia as much as conservatives think about trans people's genitalia. And I don't know if conservatives need to hear this or not, but I would like it if you understood that trans men are actually out there too. It's not just trans women all the time. Trans dudes exist. I know them.
Some of them don't even have dicks.
I'm friends with most of them don't.
Right. So what I'm saying though
I don't
is,
go out of my way to know people's surgery status. I think one of
Yeah, I
my
don't either.
trans mask friends might have had bottom surgery, but I don't know.
yeah,
I
but
don't care.
what I'm saying is,
It's their dick. If they have a dick, they can do whatever they want with it as long as it's consensual.
hey, I'm just saying, all the transphobes out there. Here's an idea: you could have a bro
Yeah.
that also
Mm-hmm.
could be your hoe. So just realize that you don't have to be into just lady dick. You could be into he pussy, and that could do you some real big solids.
Yeah, I know.
You could be into sports together. You could just like vibe.
God damn, it sounds like it'd be like the best of both worlds for
Right.
you. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I
This
didn't
is
even
what-
mean to. I didn't even mean to quote quirks,
Right. Like,
but I did
you did.
accidentally. Thank you, Kevin Smith.
But think about this for a minute. Like, this is why I don't get transphobes either. Like, these are the same guys who are always bitching about their wives and women. Like, you know, like,
You get everything that's cool about women, and everything that's cool about dudes, limited though it may be.
yeah.
But you get it all. You get everything.
Mm-hmm. Think about this.
And like, all right, let's be honest here.
Uh-huh.
Who's gonna know better how to treat a dick than someone with a dick?
It's fair. So,
Like, I've never sucked a dick,
yeah.
but I bet I'd be good at it. Just because I know what I would like.
I got a pretty hefty gag reflex, but, you know, tuck that left thumb and
I mean, you don't
squeeze.
have to deep throat everything. It doesn't have to be deep throating all the time.
It doesn't. I'm just saying.
Most of the nerves are in the glands.
Look, I'm just saying, like, even when I brush my teeth, sometimes it triggers it. It's weird. So,
That's fair.
fair.
That's
So
fair.
I probably wouldn't be good at sucking dick. But, you know, give me some Xanax and let's talk.
I mean,
So-
through Xanax, all things are possible. Let's be realistic here.
Anything else major in the news?
Fuck if I can remember at this point.
It's terrible. All things are bad. Let's go through a
As
couple
Ed
of...
Bermila once said many, many times, he didn't say it once, he said it many times, everything is terrible all the time.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a quick glance at a few of the headlines, see if there's anything else that's crazy out there. You know, obviously Trump has this big tax cut plan that's really bad, and it's going to have to slash benefits or put us into a massive deficit or raise taxes somewhere else.
I will say this, when it comes to deficit spending, I don't give a shit if it is benefiting people.
I don't either, but let's just talk about reality.
But when it's not, and it's only benefiting fucking billionaires,
Yeah. Also, deficit spending
you can
has its limits. We have to
fucking
be real about that.
tongue fuck my asshole, you piece of shit.
All right. Let's see. Oh, January 6 rioters. So we're on number 4 now that has gotten into some serious trouble.
I mean, some of them have gotten dead.
Yeah, 2 are dead for getting into shootouts with cops. 2 since like 2 weeks ago. 1 just before the pardons and 1 after. So we are at 2 dead from shootouts with cops. 1 was just convicted of manslaughter for drinking and driving with a blood alcohol of 0.2. Yeah.
I know 1 was arrested for solicitation of a minor.
Yep, and they had a bunch of
and
child porn.
Child pornography.
Yep. So that's where we're at right now. And a bunch of them have like massive criminal records, including rape, domestic violence, attempted murder. Like the list goes on.
It is very apparent that they don't understand that being pardoned for the crime of attempting to overthrow the U.S. government and storming the Capitol on January 6th is not the same thing as being given a blank check to commit as much crime as they want to, no matter when or where it is.
Well,
Especially for state crimes.
Yes, but actually I want to scroll back a little bit. Like these people have like a bunch of these people who were pardoned have like really serious criminal records from before January 6th or like immediately after.
I mean, obviously.
These guys are just absolute unhinged assholes. I have never seen anything like it because like this is worse than Willie Horton. Right? As far as like
Yeah, I don't know how many of our viewers remember Willie Horton, but I was a child when that ad dropped, and it was fucking horrifying.
I mean, we were like 8,
That'd have been 92.
You'd have been 9. Oh, Willie Horton. Was that 92?
Was it 92 or 88? I think it was 88. That was Dukakis.
Yeah, that was Dukakis.
See, I was 9 years old.
Yeah, you would have been 9. I'd have been 8. I remember the ad, though.
It was horrifying.
Yeah. So, yeah, for what happened there, though.
Sadly, it worked.
Yeah. And, you know, there was a guy who was out on a work release program who, like, committed a rape. And that, like, became, like, there was this, like, shockingly racist ad against Dukakis over it because he was the governor at the time.
Where they actually made him look blacker than he was.
Right. And Dukakis wasn't even involved in that program. Like, the governor before him, like, made it, and then, like, he'd kept it going. But they hammered Dukakis with him, and it worked. It brought him down like 4 points, 5 points in the polls.
That and him being like a genuine opponent of the death penalty.
Yes, they went after him hard for that because he didn't like the death penalty.
And I oppose the death penalty because I don't trust the state to make that decision.
I remember they asked him in the debate. They asked him about the daughter question. You know, if it was your daughter, like they or if it was somebody else's daughter.
It was his wife.
Yeah, it was
Kitty Dukakis.
Yes, if someone raped and murdered your wife, and they just hammered in that, like, and he was like, I wouldn't want me. Of course, I'd be mad, but I wouldn't want me to make that decision. And they were just like, you coward. Like,
yeah, I mean, the fact that, like, you are the victim means that you are not in a proper state of mind to make the decision on punishment.
Yeah. But these January 6th assholes, like, so many of them, aside from breaking all the laws that they did on January 6th, like, are assholes. Several of them committed forcible rape. Like, these guys, like, they didn't do any vetting of these people, and Democrats need to focus on, like, running ads against this shit.
If they had created a committee or a commission to review all of the January 6th convictions and said, hey, we're going to go through all of these and find the people who were convicted of a nonviolent crime and who have no criminal record and don't seem to be criminals in general. Mm-hmm. And we're going to let those people off. It would have been a bad look, but it would have at least been rhetorically understandable.
Right.
It would have been theoretically defensible.
Yeah.
But just saying, no, Enrico Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes, you can just walk free on seditious conspiracy to overthrow the United States government.
Yeah, these guys actually had, like, weapons and plans and fucking stockpiles and, like, coordinated.
I mean, Enrique Tarrio is a scumbag.
Yes, he is.
And as much as I dislike the United States federal government in general, fuck that guy.
Oh, yeah. And look, overthrowing the government in and of itself isn't based, right? Like, there's the purpose for why you're doing it is what makes something based.
And your ability to actually build something better is very important.
If you're trying to overthrow the government because you don't like that the transition of power in an election meant that the fascists lost and you want to install them, you're the asshole.
Yes.
It's not based. So, other pieces of news, we had all those tariff threats and the fights and
that was just in the past week, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was Colombia.
Fuck.
There's Colombia. So U.S. military flights were sent full of migrants to be deported down to Colombia. Colombian president was like, no, we're not taking people on military flights shackled for photo op. And it was only for a photo op.
There is a process by which you repatriate people into their home country if you're deporting them.
Yep.
You have to follow that process. It's bound by treaty how the process works.
So, but instead, Trump just decided he was going to send them. Didn't send them with permission, didn't follow any processes, just sent military planes with shackled migrants for a photo op. And the president said, don't do that. Treat them with dignity, and sent the planes back, refused to allow them to land in their airspace. And Trump threatened to hit them with tariffs and forgot that Colombia actually sells us more stuff or buys more stuff than they sell us. And Colombia hit us with a bunch of retaliatory tariff threats and then sent civilian planes and said, we can do this with civilian planes just fine. And Trump caved and is pretending that Colombia caved.
Yeah,
as
and if
per
usual. If you want to know how these tariffs would have affected you personally.
Coffee prices would have gone up 30%.
Yeah. The majority of the coffee that comes into the United States comes from Colombia.
Yep.
Hitting them with a 25% tariff and then a 50% tariff a week later means that your $4 cup of coffee is suddenly $7.50
Yep.
at a minimum.
Yep. And your cup of coffee at a cheap gas station for $2 is now $3-4.
Yeah, and that
Welcome to
adds up fast, especially with how addicted to caffeine I know some of you motherfuckers are.
Want to go back to drinking chicory? I don't think you do.
This
if
is
you've been
not
to New Orleans.
We are
you don't wanna
everywhere
do
is
that.
not Cafe Du Monde, and if you don't have beignet,
Yeah,
chicory can go fuck itself.
yeah, it's kind of
You
right?
need to have beignet for chicory to be acceptable. It's
Yeah.
delicious under those circumstances. I fucking love beignet
Right. I love a beignet.
and a good chicory coffee, but that is the only context in which I want chicory.
Cafe Du Monde's chocolate croissant is pretty good too.
Oh, I haven't tried that.
It is good.
I've only been to Cafe Du Monde once. I need to go back to New Orleans. My sister owns a house there. I should probably visit.
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
probably should. Like I love New Orleans. It's my favorite city.
I mean, it's weird because they're only there during the time period of the year when we're really busy at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's a hit on the old pocketbook to take a trip, to take the time off work to go.
You mean they're only not there during the time when we're really busy at the bar?
Yeah, they were only in New Orleans from like just after Halloween through like Easter.
Okay.
So our busy season is when they are in the city
okay.
for me to go stay with them.
Oh, why would you want to stay with them? Why not just use their house? while they're out of town?
Because they turn off the electricity when they're not there. Because they live in New Jersey and they own a motel in New Jersey.
That makes sense.
During the off season, they go winter in New Orleans. They have a nice house. My father says it's very, very nice.
You know,
They're right off the fucking trolley line. You can get anywhere in the city for like 50 cents. It's
It would be-
fucking amazing.
you know, if you can, like,
But I need to do it. Maybe I'll do it for my birthday.
call them and say, hey, if you turn on the electricity, I'll pay that bill for the,
That's fair.
because it's probably going to be like the cost of a night's hotel.
It's not like I need to be here in the summer.
Right. And the electricity would be like the cost of a night's hotel.
As long as I don't try to go during Mardi Gras, it's fine.
I mean, I haven't been during Mardi Gras.
Neither have I.
I went on New Year's Eve. That was great, but not Mardi Gras. Let's see. But the tariff threats, Taiwan. Oh my God, what the fuck is that one?
I'm not even sure what his goal is with that one.
No.
But he wants to impose a 100% tariff on computer chips made in Taiwan. And if you don't know already, the overwhelming majority of high-end computer chips in the world are made in Taiwan.
Right. And
They are the number one exporter of high-end computer chips.
And it is a multi-billion, multi-years long project to get chip manufacturing up to speed anywhere in the world, get new chip manufacturing. That's why Biden passed the CHIPS Act, devoting funding to it. Like, Trump is trying to force through tariffs an acceleration of something that we've already done through legislation and appropriation that is going to take years. And I don't, like, it's nonsense. You can't make this happen much faster, and it won't happen during the course of his, at least not the first half of his first term, right? Like, even if he were to put 100% tariff on it tomorrow.
Yeah, you're looking at 5 to 10 years before we can ramp up our manufacturing to the point where we could even hope to compete, maybe.
Yep. In the meantime, you love these devices.
Imagine
You like
paying
your car.
imagine paying like $3,000 for a phone. That's what you're looking at.
Imagine there being shortages of them and you not being able to get any because they're just not available.
And then your phone stops updating because your phone is too old to use the new OS for the phone.
Yeah,
Whether
and
you have-
imagine
whether you have a Google or an Apple or a Samsung or what the fuck ever.
the best
happens
part,
real
which is it
fast.
doesn't matter what it costs or whether or not there are shortages, because most of us can't afford them anymore when our economy collapses because we're no longer the ones buying the most high-end electronics.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's entire presidency seems to be designed to destroy the United States. And if there is anything about it that it seems to have a pattern of, it is weakening everything that makes us strong.
It does
Everything.
feel like the primary goal of the executive branch at this point is to weaken the United States of America as much as possible in as many ways as possible. And I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. You should not be okay with that. If you live here, your life becomes worse if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand, like, oh, fuck the USA and its imperialism and blah, 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 blah. That's all valid. But you having an absolutely miserable existence does absolutely nothing to help anyone else in the rest of the world.
Yep. And of course,
it just makes you less likely to be able to fucking do anything on their behalf because you're just going to be struggling to survive.
Yeah.
You can't help other people if you're fucked.
And of course, this is just all par for the course, I guess. The new regime, and it's nonsense. You know, these tariffs are dangerous. They've got people scared everywhere. Every industry doesn't have a clue what's going on. China's releasing, mega AI that destroys $1 trillion worth of funding. Now, obviously, the market bounced back for the most part.
Yeah, but just the one-day panic was a thing of beauty.
Right. Bunch of research grants are frozen. Like, everything is a mess right now, and none of this makes any fucking sense.
If you were worried about child cancer, we're not doing research on that anymore.
Yeah, and of course, a new series of executive orders targeting trans people and their health care because
they are 1% of the population and they have never harmed you.
But that'll surely bring down the price of eggs.
Yeah, which are only like $9 a carton now.
All right, that's been the news. Let's do this shit.
All right, so we are back.
We're back.
Back from a smoke break.
I ate some nuts.
Eat that nut.
Had a cigarette. I know you shouldn't smoke, but
I decided it was too fucking bright in the world.
You did. We're doing sunglasses indoors. So what's our topic today, Gonz?
How the Democratic Party can collectively, as a whole, for their failure to do anything of real significance to oppose the fascist takeover of the United States of America, can eat our shit and hair.
All right. That's a good topic.
Because I have thoughts about the Democratic Party and its need to eat my shit and hair.
So the number one problem with the Democrats is that they seem to be playing by a set of rules that haven't applied since Newt Gingrich was in office.
At least. This is going back 30 years. This shit has not applied.
Right. But they're constantly trying to stick to the norms while the norms are slowly being degraded away by the other party.
There are no norms as far as the other party is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be.
The only norm as far as the Republican Party is concerned is winning and maintaining power. They do not have a purpose beyond that. They are not interested in governing. They are not interested in abiding by the rules. They are interested in consolidating and maintaining power at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the sake of having power.
For the most part, yeah. Now there are handlers behind it. There are donors. There are special interests that, that align with them.
Yeah, although I do believe they would be doing this even if that was not the case.
Oh, sure. They probably would be. I just don't think they'd be successful.
No, they'd be worse at it.
Mm-hmm. But therein lies our hiccup. They're playing by a set of rules that doesn't exist and hasn't existed for a long time. And you can see it in the way that, Obama's presidency. Obama's presidency.
There was so much potential that was squandered by that man. And I don't dislike him as a person per se.
No.
He seems like fine human being.
One of the better ones as far as people
at least in my lifetime.
Yeah, as far as people who've been
if
presidents
if you're gonna go by presidents who piss me off during my lifetime,
yeah.
I don't count Carter because I was an infant.
Same.
And it was only a year.
Mm-hmm.
Year and a half.
Right.
But
6-7 months for me.
He was the one I disliked the least.
Yeah.
I've never liked a president.
No.
And I don't know that you should.
Like, I'll admit I was 28 and young and way more like I was active politically, but I was not quite as radical. I'd gone through a radical phase, became kind of a left of center centrist Dem, right?
Yeah.
And then have slid towards radicalism again since then. Pragmatic radicalism, but radicalism nonetheless.
Because, the fact of the matter is, I don't know if you could say in reality that what our politics are genuinely radical compared to what radical politics should be.
Right.
I think that we are just reasonable pragmatists who find ourselves in a system where that in itself makes you a radical.
Yeah. I would drastically re-envision our government if I could in many, many, many ways. Don't give me that power. But
no, you should never give me that power either. Things would get interesting very quickly.
But that being said, when Obama was first elected, it was a really emotional moment for me. I remember the funny thing about it is that I was talking to Amy Klobuchar.
Okay.
When he was announced as the winner.
Nice.
And
how did that happen?
I was feet away from Al Franken. I was like right in between the two of them.
Oh, I miss Al Franken.
Yeah. I was at the DNC watch party in the DFL watch party in St. Paul, Minnesota at the time. And I'd done a bunch of door knocking, and my wife and I were out and about and decided, well, we weren't married yet. My fiance at the time.
Future wife.
My future wife.
Future ex-wife.
My future ex-wife and I.
It happens. We've
all
out and
about. And we just were like, let's go to this watch party thing. So we did. And it was at a hotel in downtown St. Paul. And I ran into Senator Klobuchar, and she and I had met on one other occasion. And so I said hi, and I grabbed a beer because we were right there by the bar, and
beer was delicious.
And they announced Obama as it was the winner. The news hit like right then, and it was a wild experience. I'll never forget that. I mean, I'm talking to a U.S. senator
that first day of his election
was great.
It might be the most hopeful I've been in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at what we got, holy fucking shit!
Yeah.
But hope did not last. Hope and change did not last.
It didn't. But I'll admit that, it was a really emotional moment for me, and I was much more aligned with the Democratic Party at the time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And I'd done some door knocking, and I'd done some door knocking for Franken, and did some voter outreach and phone banking on a few different issues that election, including defeating a ballot initiative. And, so I was quasi dialed in. I was a nobody, right? It was just a 28-year-old fucking kid. But that's where I was at. Like very progressive wing of the Democratic Party, like at that time, right?
Yeah, definitely progressive by Democrat standards.
Yes, but still a rank and file guy. Yeah. And so I was really happy with Obama's win. Whew, boy. But I will say that he didn't do enough with his majorities.
No, and his weird
negotiating
devotion to bipartisanship when the Republican Party had said they had no intention of doing bipartisanship under any circumstances whatsoever.
Yes,
was frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, and he had a style of negotiating from the middle, from the beginning. And that really upset me over time.
If there's one thing I've never understood about the Democratic Party in my lifetime, it's that they never start from a position of asking for something like that they know they won't get,
right,
and then compromising back to what they actually want, which is what the Republicans have been doing since Gingrich, if not longer.
Yeah, they demand what they want everything. Shut down the whole government until you cut every single fucking program.
I fucking hate the Republican Party. I unironically believe them to be no better than the Nazi Party at this point, especially.
100%. Same.
But they know how to negotiate. They know how to ask for something that is totally deranged, that they know they won't get, and then compromise their way back to what they actually want. And they've been doing it consistently for 30 goddamn years.
Yep.
At least.
And they're very good at it. And Democrats are fucking awful at it. They just can't seem to figure out.
Democrats start with what they think Republicans might give them and then whittle it away to fucking nothing.
Yep. And it's galling. And the Obama presidency was probably the worst offender at it. And the ACA fight, I think, is probably
2 years to get the ACA, and it was not anywhere close to what it should have been.
Yeah. And now, look,
They should have started from a baseline of, we want Medicare for all, and then compromised back from that. And I still think they should have pushed genuinely hard for Medicare for all. But
I also think Joe Lieberman should have been shot in the head.
I don't like Joe Lieberman. I'm glad he's dead.
Yeah. Fuck you, Joe Lieberman. I want to piss on your grave someday. I hope is
Joe-
it Connecticut? Is it in Connecticut, or did he get buried in Israel?
I don't know. Joe
If he's
Lieberman
buried
is
in Israel, I'm coming for you.
Joe Lieberman is the first politician who was not president of the United States that I passionately hated.
Yeah.
Because I remember when he came after 9 Inch Nails, and that is fucking sacrosanct. You don't do that shit. You don't fucking try that shit. I will cut you.
You know what? And every once in a while, there's a Democrat I love, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of stick to the party in general. Every once in a while, there's one I love. I used to room with a guy who worked for Paul Wellstone.
There's a tragedy.
There's a tragedy. Paul Wellstone, he was a congressman from Minnesota, died in a plane crash. He flew himself and he crashed it. It was sad.
The
But he was a
party
great
today
guy.
would be fundamentally different if he hadn't died when he died.
Yeah, and he was a rising star at the time. A rapidly rising star.
Yeah,
and a
and
genuinely good man. and
Unlike
reformer.
Cory Booker, we wouldn't have been talking about him as the future of the party for 20 goddamn years.
Yeah, Cory Booker, you're not the future of the Democratic Party.
Go back to Newark.
Yeah,
You belong in New Jersey.
sad.
North Jersey, no less. Not even the cool part where, they've got fucking boardwalks and shit. You belong in the fucking Jersey Shore, fucking Mike the Situation Sorrento fucking part of New Jersey. That's where you fucking belong, Cory Booker.
Cory Booker, you do not deserve heroin tourism.
You fucking deserve nothing.
You get nothing, Cory. Oh my God, Cory Booker. Ugh. And every once in a while, Cory Booker shows off to be something cool, and then he does something stupid. And how these people don't capitalize on their shit.
They're afraid of their own positions and their own strength
So Cory Booker.
and their own ability to do something.
He's a great example of shit should have been capitalized on, right? Remember when he was the mayor who saved people from a burning building?
Yes. In a sane world, he would have already ran and gotten the nomination for president.
Yes. Whether or not he won.
He would have been the guy after Obama.
Right.
If he were not a goddamn coward.
In a sane fucking
The
world.
feckless, useless piece of shit.
Yeah. And again, this man was the mayor of Newark. He's walking down the street one day. He sees a burning building and he runs in and saves a family.
How do you not turn that into political capital? I'll tell you, it's called being Cory Booker.
Yeah. It got him to the Senate, and then he became a feckless pansy. And every once in a while he'd stand up on something and then run away. And that's Democrats across the board.
In general.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, I will, on the one hand, give it to her that she was probably the most successful parliamentarian and effective Speaker of the House
in 2009. In 2009, she was a fucking force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
It is not 2009 anymore. She needs to get out of the fucking way.
But
she is 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
She's worth almost $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
She should go take care of her husband who was beaten with a hammer.
Yeah.
And get out of the way.
But was she incredibly effective? Yes, absolutely.
Was 435 pieces of legislation passed through the House in that 1-2 year term?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, sure, a huge amount of it just died in the fucking Senate, but the Senate is an entirely fucking beast in the goddamn House.
Yeah. And that was when Mitch McConnell was at his prime.
She was a shockingly effective House leader in the first 2 years of Obama's presidency.
Mm-hmm.
She got some genuinely progressive and good legislation through the House of Representatives. And she has been absolutely fucking worthless ever since.
Absolutely.
And now she's just an active impediment to getting anything done because she will make sure that, say, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't end up on the House Oversight Committee where she fucking belongs.
Yeah, AOC needed to be on oversight. Why they didn't put any of the fucking firebrands on oversight, I don't know.
Because they're cowards.
And again, that's the Republicans do that. The
Republicans don't give a fuck.
But they pick
They go hard.
They go hard, and they pick their meanest, most willing to fight people for the right fucking committees for a reason.
It's because it works.
Yeah.
It's electorally and politically smart.
Cameras plus witnesses plus someone who can tear them apart equals good optics that win elections.
That gets you votes. It looking like you are actually fighting for your constituents and their fucking interests wins you votes. That's how the system works. And the Democratic Party's absolute refusal to understand that is perhaps the most frustrating thing in the entirety of my lifetime.
Jim Jordan is a useless piece of shit, and I hate everything he says and everything he stands for. But
child rape apologia and all.
But the terrible people of Ohio keep sending him back over and over and over again by wide margins because the man makes fucking headlines.
Even if those headlines are him being fucking deranged.
Yep. But
he gets the goddamn press.
But he's grilling somebody over and over and over again in his hearings.
And he might just be ranting about nonsense like the Biden crime family, which doesn't exist.
Right.
Joe Biden is not interesting enough to be the head of a crime family.
No, he's not. And
he was an attractive man 140 years ago.
He had smooth hair.
Smooth hair, swinging that Biden dick, that legendary Biden massive hog. But you know what? He's 3,000 goddamn years old now.
I can't wait for Hunter Biden to swing that massive hog into the presidency.
Fuck it.
Hunter needs to be president.
President Hunter Biden today.
I'm for it.
If we're going to be stupid, let's make the guy who lied on his fucking gun permit, heroin addict, fucking
crack addict,
smoking meth, banging whores.
The man smoked crack with Marion Barry. I'm jealous.
Marion Barry. You know what? If I were going to smoke crack with anybody, it would be Marion Barry because that man is a goddamn icon.
Marion Barry is cooler than the people I've smoked crack with.
Smoking crack.
I've smoked crack. Marion Barry is cooler than anybody I've smoked crack with.
Smoking crack with Marion Barry would be like hanging out and smoking crack with Rick James.
Yeah.
You are a fucking baller.
Like I did not smoke crack with anyone cool. I smoked crack with a contractor that I was a roommate with.
I've never smoked crack.
I smoked crack with a guy who dealt crack.
I've told people they smoked crack when they didn't know they were smoking crack.
The Foily story.
The Foily story. We're not going to get into that right now.
No, she'll be mad.
She would be mad.
She would be very mad.
I don't even know if she listens to this, but she'd think it's funny, but she'd also maybe be mad.
She would be very mad.
I don't know if she'd be very mad. She might be.
Very mad. Don't tell the Foily story on air. But
save that for a YouTube short later.
All 37 views. She'll be okay with it. But look, I have done about every drug known to man on purpose. I'm going to say I've tried them. I like trying them.
Drugs are cool.
Drugs are cool, kids.
If you can keep your shit together and not become a degenerate addict, drugs are cool.
Yeah. But
sorry, kids. Drugs are cool.
Do not listen to the Reagans. Just say no. Can go fuck itself.
Just say yes to moderation.
Say yeah. Do it on the weekends. Don't do the same drugs over and over
Especially
again.
if you're talking hallucinogens, your psilocybin,
Yeah.
your
The only thing-
lysergic acid dimethylide, like your DMTs.
The only thing addictive about hallucinogens, except maybe ketamine, right, is that like doing them too frequently.
Yeah, but don't go full Elon about it.
If you do them too frequently, you become kind of like
Terrence McKenna had it
mentally
right.
obsessed with doing them.
Every 6 months, you want to do a heroic trip of some kind just to reset your fucking brain chemistry and get your shit in order, and you will be a better, healthier, happier person.
And I
Who
have
has some
never
good goddamn
eaten
stories.
17.5 grams of psilocybin.
You should do.
Gotten naked in my backyard and fought with God.
You should accidentally
I've never done that.
You should totally accidentally do twice the amount of shrooms you think you're doing and go to a Guar show. I'm not going to tell you not to do that because let me tell you, it's fucking life-changing in a good way.
Oh, man. You know, last time I did shrooms was at Dolly 360 experience.
Ooh,
watching,
that sounds nice.
They with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Ooh,
a visual experience for that.
I like
was laying
that.
on the
I like
floor,
that.
kind of crying. I was with this really, really good-looking girl. We were just fucking, and then we went back to her place and finished the trip just fucking vibing, and like, it was great.
If I can give anyone some advice when it comes to shrooms, here's what I want you to do.
Yeah.
I want you to do just tiny bit more shrooms than you think you should. And I want you to get in a hot tub.
Oh.
And I want you to be on a lot of shrooms, and I want you to have sex in that hot tub while you're on a fuck ton of shrooms. There is no better experience you're going to have in the entirety of your fucking life than being in a hot tub fucking on shrooms. It's good times.
Mushroom sex is my favorite. It's my absolute.
I have
hands down.
I have spanned and explored space and time.
Right. While gutturally just grunting and pounding.
I've been in the middle of intercourse and thought to myself, holy shit, I'm on a fucking snowy mountain in the Swiss Alps now. And black metal that's doesn't exist in the real world is playing in my periphery. And it's amazing. You will be a better person if you do shrooms and make fuck.
Yes, do shrooms and make fuck. For me, the best part about it is just right at the best part of the trip where your brain is just kind of like off, and then like everything conscious turns off and the primal me turns on.
You go, you become like your pure instinctual self.
Right.
You are not consciously aware anymore. You are living entirely and purely in the instant. And it is goddamn good for your fucking brain.
And then by the time I'm done with it, where you're both just covered in fluids and like.
And I'm gonna say this.
It's great.
Sex should be kind of gross. Like, sex should be the sort of thing that when you think about it afterwards, you're like, ew. That's good sex.
That's great. Yeah.
Good sex, you feel a little bit about it afterwards.
Bearded guys, don't be cowards.
We were talking about the Democratic Party, and I don't know how we ended up here. But good sex is not being a mainstream Democrat. I'll tell you fucking that.
I don't think Joe Biden fucks anymore. Hunter fucks.
Hunter fucks. Hunter smokes crack and bangs whores.
That's how we got here. Hunter Biden.
That's how we got here.
Marion Barry.
Marion Barry.
Look, all right, so Democrats suck.
No Democrat has as much fun as we're having right now because they're fucking weak and pathetic.
Yeah. The caving and capitulating and the signaling that they might be willing to let this member through the Senate and this member through.
I am genuinely passionately angry that any Democrat has voted to confirm any one of Trump's nominees. I don't care who they are. Marco Rubio should have needed a fucking tie-breaking vote.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's theoretically fucking qualified.
Right.
As far as any of these nominees are qualified, he is the most qualified. And
I can't believe I was relieved that Marco Rubio is becoming the fucking Secretary of State.
I still think every Democrat should have voted against him on fucking principle, just to say, fuck you, no.
I'm just depressed that that's the state of things, that Marco Rubio was the most qualified fucking possible pick for any of his candidates.
You got to make the Republicans own all of this shit. You got to put them in a position where they are the ones who are making the deciding vote on fucking everything.
Yes.
So when shit hits the goddamn fan, they are solely responsible for it.
Obstruction works. They did it for decades.
The entirety of Obama's term, the reason we did not get the shit done we would have gotten done otherwise, even with him being more moderate than he sold himself as when he was first elected,
right,
is because Mitch McConnell and the Republicans obstructed as much as possible at every single turn.
And Trump's midterms and loss in 2020, right, the 2018 midterm and the 2020 loss, were both directly driven by resistance and Democrats not passing his bullshit.
No,
like the
just
more
fucking not.
The more opposition just ground everything to a halt, the worse he did. And that's just the reality of it.
I don't know why they have such a hard time understanding this.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I know part of it is they don't want to piss off their donors. And the donor class is definitely a gargantuan problem in our politics today.
100%.
I think everyone of the donor class should be fed into a fucking wood chipper.
I wouldn't disagree.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
You're not, no.
In Roblox. I don't mean this literally. In Roblox.
In Roblox only.
In Roblox only.
You know, but they're feckless cowards. Fetterman, I hate him.
You know my feelings about the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And especially the city of Philadelphia. I love it. It is a beautiful thing, even though rural Pennsylvania is a gargantuan hellscape. There has been nothing that has disappointed me more than the way he has represented the people of the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the man pretended to be a progressive. He's
called himself a progressive. Yeah. And he says he didn't now.
Yeah.
But he ran on being a progressive.
And he's basically turned himself into Mansion and Cinema 2.0, but he dresses in Carhartts like an asshole. And it's performative. And that's what also bothers me about that is the performativeness of it. Like, because people will pull this like dipshit fucking, well, you're being classist because like normal people and like the lower class and the working class, they wear normal clothes like that all the time. Like not.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, but not to formal settings. Right? Like,
no, if I go to a wedding, I don't wear the battle vest and fucking cargo shorts.
Yeah, like, and
I fucking dress appropriately.
If heaven forbid, like, yeah, you're working the job that you wear, but you know, if you were given an opportunity to, you know, like work as a delegate to the UN tomorrow, right?
I'd look fucking sharp.
You're right, exactly. Like if they showed up and were like,
I'd go hard.
Like we would like
good.
We would like you to represent, you know, this organization, this culture, this group, this country, whatever, you know, on the world stage, right? Like you'd drop the battle vest.
I would
dress in a fucking suit.
Look like I was ready to kill a Belmont in a Castlevania game.
Right. But there's no way in hell, like, and that's just it, is like every poor family's got a Sunday suit.
Yeah. It was just, it was just how things were.
Yeah. Like I grew up, I had some formal clothing to wear to fucking formal shit. Like that's just how we did it. Like, did I wear jeans and t-shirts all the fucking time the rest of the time? Yeah. Did my parents, you know, fucking like wear just basic, normal fucking lower middle class shit? Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a pair of shoes for over 20 years that I only wear to weddings.
Yeah.
They're nice, but I only wear them to weddings.
Like, Fetterman is cosplaying. He worked in finance. He went to an Ivy League school. He was a mayor. This Carhartts and fucking sweatshirts bullshit is cosplay. He's playing you.
His rockabilly wife might be sincere, but he's full of shit.
Right. And you know, again, I thought Fetterman was possibly something great when he ran.
He lied to us.
and hold these fuckers accountable. Like Joe Manchin should be held. Well, I mean, he's out now, but he should have been held accountable a long time ago. He was probably the best thing we could get out of West Virginia, but maybe we should have looked at other states.
Yeah, why do we have to rely on West Virginia when West Virginia is like one of the deepest red states in the fucking country? Why do we have to rely on them for a Democratic senator who's just going to obstruct Democratic policies?
Yeah, I would have done what I could to keep like Manchin inside the party for a while, right?
I would have
looked to another swing state where we were losing.
Maybe tried to get a goddamn Democratic senator out of the state of Florida, which is possible if the fucking Florida Democratic Party gives anyone worth voting for, which they've been entirely unwilling to do the entirety time I've fucking lived here.
How Bill Nelson, former astronaut.
The fact that Bill Nelson didn't even have a Spanish language version of his fucking campaign website in Florida running against, was he running against Rubio or Scott? It was Rick Scott, right? Rick Scott. Rick Scott left office as governor unpopular.
Yeah.
No one liked him because he was a terrible fucking governor who fucked this state almost as much as Ron DeSantis has, although Ron DeSantis has been fucking spectacularly incompetent as governor of this fucking state.
The main difference between DeSantis and Rick Scott is that Rick Scott had a state Supreme Court that followed the law.
Yeah.
And Ron DeSantis got a bunch of cronies and allies that don't give a shit about the state constitution.
And while Rick Scott definitely was more interested in what was best for Rick Scott, I don't get the impression that he actively hated the state of Florida the way Ron DeSantis does. He hates the state. He hates its people. He wants us all to suffer. I don't like him.
No, he's a piece of shit. Speaking of which, Florida Democratic Party.
There is not a more useless or feckless or incompetent political organization in the entirety of the United States of America than the Florida Democratic Party. And that's even with having Nikki Fried in charge now, who at least pretends to try.
Yeah.
She's still fucking useless.
She's awful. Nikki Fried, if you ever listen to this episode.
I hope you find this.
I hope you find this.
And
you're terrible at your job. And
terrible.
Everybody knows it. Like everybody, every voter in like that's not like somebody who fucking loves you for fucking family reasons
and
like
and,
fucking votes you.
Really, the problem is the Florida Democratic Party is the equivalent of a goddamn old lady's sewing circle.
Yeah.
We know somebody who has tried at the county level to get involved with Democratic Party politics, and they just don't want to win.
I went to county party meetings. I went to a state party meeting. I've been to events for the Florida Democratic Party, and you're not wrong. It is a social club for retired affluent white women. That is what the Florida Democratic Party is. It is a social club for affluent retired white women.
You can give them specific data about what works and what doesn't work to win an election. And they will look you dead in the goddamn eye and say, but that's not how we've done it, so we're not going to change.
Yep. And they think that putting a guy that checks off some identity boxes but is like the most neoliberal person on earth and is like in his 30s is like how they reach out to young people.
No.
Yeah. Like into positions. It's
actually putting younger people into positions of power is how you reach out to young people. Fact of the matter is I'm 45, soon to be 46. How old are you?
44.
44. We should be too old for the Democratic Party to be looking at this point. They should be looking at people in their the 28 to 35-year-old range.
Yeah, running for fucking city council or
running for fucking
something
anything.
Local.
We have city council members that don't suck. One of them. We got one.
We got one.
We got Richie.
We got Richie.
We got Richie Floyd.
And now where I live, my town, I love the deputy mayor, city council member that I know, but he's great. But you know, he's a friend of mine. But
I mean, I've gotten drunk with the mayor of. I don't know if he's still mayor. At least the former mayor of Gulfport, and I've seen him naked.
Nice.
Yeah, that's not really hard to do. He's gotten everybody in the city drunk.
A couple of years ago, at a debate party at Iberian Rooster, during the 2020 elections, right? There was a Democratic debate party. I smoked a blunt with a future congressman.
Nice.
That was
nice.
That was great.
Speaking, there are good younger members of the House of Representatives.
There's a
We
couple.
should probably talk about them because I think that despite what the leadership of the Democratic Party thinks, these people should be the future of the Democratic Party, and they should be the ones making the decisions for the Democratic Party going forward.
Yep. AOC.
AOC.
Right.
You got Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar is fantastic.
Rashida Tlaib. I like Maxwell Frost here out of
Maxwell
Florida.
Frost.
He's not perfect.
He's not perfect.
but
There's some areas he lets me down.
There's some areas he lets me down, but he's young.
He's
and
young.
he's principled.
And he's principled.
He's-
and
Is he even 30 yet?
yeah, no, he's the youngest. He is the youngest. He was the first Gen Z member of Congress, and he's been to Iberian Rooster.
All right. Iberian Rooster, which doesn't exist anymore because the city is gentrified to all fuck.
Yeah, and
That's another rant for another time.
no, their owner also just kept making really bad decisions.
Not the smartest dude, but that's
No.
a lot of business owners in this city.
Yeah, yeah. Who's you were talking about the other one that you really liked.
Jasmine Crockett.
Crockett. Yes, Crockett is great.
Jasmine Crockett. Now,
She knows how to come hard.
she knows how to come hard. She is older than the rest. I was shocked to find out she's 43 years old
Right.
because I didn't think she was anywhere close to my age.
She does not look
She
like
does
she's
not.
in her 40s.
She
Damn, girl.
She has aged exceptionally well.
Jasmine
and
Crockett,
she-
if you can hear this, you age like a fine wine.
She
I'm looking
is
at you.
everything that the Democratic Party needs in its fucking caucus.
Right? Like, she's fiery.
She's fiery. She's principled. She's smart. She does not take shit from any of these motherfuckers.
Oh, my God. The way she goes after
just,
fucking
just,
Marjorie Taylor
just,
Greene.
her.
Oh, my God.
The fact that
Your bottle blonde,
The
brick-built ass. Like,
the fact that
Jasmine, you fucking turned me on with that. The way that you go after fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene is fucking hot.
she
girl.
made Nancy Mace call her out for a fist fight outside of the House of Representatives.
Oh.
More of this, please.
Also, Nancy Mace, diversity hire.
Let's talk about Nancy Mace.
Nancy Mace is a DEI hire.
She is.
She was
the
historically
she was
a
the
historic
she
DEI
was the
hire
first woman
in the Citadel.
in the Citadel.
Yep.
And this became a little point of controversy over the last couple of days because she is very proud of the fact that she was the first woman in the Citadel. She uses the fact that she was the first woman in the Citadel to be a subhuman, transphobic piece of amphibian shit.
Yeah, she uses it to make some turf ass fucking arguments to hate on trans women. So.
And fucking Matt Walsh. Baby fucker Matt Walsh. Dude who has baby dolls of himself made that I am guaranteed have had fleshlights inserted into them by
They
pedophiles.
look like fuck dolls. They are
look
baby
like fuck
dolls
dolls.
of him that look like fuck dolls.
Degenerates have fucked baby dolls of Matt Walsh. Came after her for the fact that he called her a DEI hire because she was the first woman in the Citadel.
But the funny thing is, he wasn't actually wrong. Yeah, like
She was a diversity hire.
TERFs forget that their allies want their asses back in the kitchen too.
TERFs are the stupidest people.
They are.
They are barely human. They should be mercilessly mocked and ridiculed into as much self-harm as we can manage. I hate them. I hope bad things happen to every single last one of them.
Yep.
I don't care how many classic children's book series they may have written. In fact, fuck you for that too.
I hope that the mold gets you, Joanne.
I hope it's creeping through your brain like RFK's worms.
You see, this is the problem. Like, RFK is a great example of how Democrats suck, actually. Because he was one. His
He
family's
was one.
Like a prominent Democratic family, right?
The most famous Democratic family, perhaps in the history of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, like party royalty. Like, and American royalty. They're the closest, one of the closest things that we've had.
Yeah, they're the
as
closest
royalty
thing to monarchs.
in this country. And,
Yeah. Princes and kings, that family.
and
That's why we shot him.
Good. But RFK Jr. just his insanity, his nonsense, it let him, like his Democratic ties let him continue to exist on the fringes of the party for a long time with a lot of respect because of the family name.
Mm-hmm.
And the outcome that we get is him.
I don't know if RFK Sr. was a violent man, but he'd punch his child either way.
Yeah, probably. And on that note, this has been The Grift. Give us all your money.
Give us all your money. We need to buy more liquor. I mean, look at this. Look at this.
You've been going at it hard today.
I've been going at it hard because why wouldn't I?
I mean,
Everything is terrible all the time. Never give up. Don't give up. Rage and spite can fuel you in ways you can't imagine. Never let the fuckers win.
Don't let the fuckers
No matter what.
Don't give up. Earlier, when I was going on that little moderate rant about like the left and the way that they act like the Third Reich is already here at the worst stages of it, that's a big part of it. It's like if you start acting as if they've already won and that your identity, you're going to be arrested, jailed, imprisoned for protesting, for being trans, for being gay, for being black, for being whatever, right? The children of immigrants, right? Like if you start acting as if they've already done, they can already do those things, they're gonna do.
They can.
They can.
Like you're just giving them the opening to do it.
Yeah. Fight back, people. Don't be
Never
cowards.
quit.
And on that note, see you fuckers later.
Give us all your money.
Give us all your money.